All right, Mackie, you're getting a 2-for-1 today. I enjoyed that last video making, so I'm going to uh, do this full hour one, see if I have the bandwidth for it. So same as last time, I'm going to ask the questions. We're going to sort of look at the hand rankings, look at the questions to ask, and we'll get right into it. So I'll try and skip through so we can get to the good parts. Oh, right away. Okay. Posting ace-7 offsuit. So checking's fine. Again, don't necessarily want to use the default buttons. It looks very weak when you snap check like that. Not worried about it for these stakes, but you want to get in good habits with when you're playing against better competition as you get up in stakes. All right, so we've seen the flop now by force. Ask yourself these questions. How many opponents saw the flop? 2. Did you hit the flop? No. Is the flop likely to hit others? No. 5-9-3 is a really crap flop. You're just against the blinds. I would probably just pure bluff at this for like 25 cents. It only has to work like 1 in 4 times to be profitable. You have some backdoors. You have an ace for an overcard. You have some backdoor straight draws. It's a rainbow board. It's just a very unlikely board to have hit anyone. So I'd probably bet about 25 cents. Oh, with this player leading in, it's just a easy fold. I thought everyone checked you there. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, pocket threes, raised to 40 cents. That's perfectly good. Small blind calls, big blind is quite short. So calls. Okay, so now we ask ourselves the question, how many opponents saw the flop? 2. Did you hit the flop? No. Is this flop likely to hit others? I would say yes. It's a coordinated flop in the sense of like there would be a lot of card hands that have straight draws plus a pair. Think of 9-10, Jack or Queen 9, 8-9, 6-10, 7-6, those sorts of hands. Sort of a coordinated middly hand. I think on this flop, I mean, I could go either way. If they both check to you, I think betting's fine. You only have to, if you bet about a third pot to half pot, you only have to win it about, 1 in 3 times to be profitable. Again, if you've noticed, I'm saying bet a third pot to half pot. I'm doing small little bets when I don't have anything. Just, players will essentially not be able to adjust to bet sizing very well at these stakes. So it's pretty easy to bluff bluff in spots much smaller. So either way, you could bet sort of 60 cents, or you could check back and give up. I think both are fine. Okay, your opponent leads out and called. It's an easy, easy, easy fold. Yeah, good job. Don't worry about that 3. They always do that to you. No cussing. Okay, king 5 suited in the big blind. Like to see a free flop here. Be nice. Okay. I mean, you shouldn't have auto fold on there, because if double were to sort of min raise to 20 cents, I'd certainly be calling with a suited king here. But it's okay. Queen 7, fold. 4-7 fold. Jack 6 fold. Okay, 10 jack. Okay, so 10 jack offsuit. Again, hand rankings, we'll go back here. It's a danger hand. It's a hand that you should be playing in late position just to steal the blinds. When you get played back at, you can be dominated often. And I'll do that example again up here like we did before, like Jack 10 off. What jacks have you dominated? Ace Jack, King Jack, Queen Jack. And what tens have you dominated? Ace 10, King 10, Queen 10. Like all those 6 hands have you dominated if you flop top pair. What hands do you dominate? Like Jack 9 and 10-9, if they're going to play those hands. So it's much steeper that there's going to be more hands that have you beat than you beat. So 10 jack off is like, again, in the danger tier. So I'd recommend not raising it from early position. If you're like button or cutoff, these two spots and everyone's folded or one person's limped, you can certainly raise with it. It's perfectly fine. Suited, I mean, 10 jack suited is one of my favorite hands to play, so go for it anywhere, but 10 jack offsuit. And then you're facing a 4x 3-bet, so this is just an easy fold. Um, you showed strength by opening an early position, and then your opponent showed even more strength by 4xing it. So again, unless you ever read that this player is like a wild monkey, it's a fold here. Okay, 51-14, so he's super loose, but he's not hyper aggressive. So yeah, that was a good fold. That's discipline to be able to raise and fold. There's a lot of stubborn players that won't do it. Oh, now you're teased with the exact same hand. And again, you're in early position, so I would fold this hand. Okay, so it's interesting. You change your strategy a bit. I like it in the sense of like it's a weaker hand, so you're raising a bit smaller. Um, you can certainly be making those kind of adjustments on the fly. You're being in early position, but it's like a weaker hand, so that's fine. But again, it's probably a hand I would fold. You're facing the minimum 3-bet, which you have to call here, especially with a caller, and I'll show you some math in a minute, depending on what Bum Hunter does. Okay, let's assume he just called. So the reason you'd never fold here is you'd have to call 20 cents to win something like $3 or $2.50. Obviously, with Bum Hunter 3-betting, this is extraordinarily strong. He's facing 2 opponents, 3 opponents. You were aggressive. This guy was aggressive. This guy showed some strength by calling a bet and a raise. Now he's 5xing. So this is extraordinarily strong. Like, unless he's an absolute fish, he's got to have a premium hand. So again, it becomes a fold. But both those hands could have been folded from early position. So I would say Bum Hunter likely has something like queens plus, I'd say. Maybe ace king, but probably queens plus. And he's got kings. So again, that was really easy read for me playing a long time, but you can see the scenario. You raise, this guy 3-bet, and this guy called, and then this Bum Hunter comes in with a very large 4-bet. So again, no one is bluffing in that spot. You could have jacks here, and it'd be a pretty easy fold. You could have ace queen or ace jack here, and it'd be a pretty easy fold. So again, pay attention to that. This is a great hand to show you how to get reads on your opponent. And when someone makes a play like that, with the action that happened before them, they always have a premium hand. Okay, under the gun with king deuce. It's fold, good stuff. Oh, I skipped your big blind. 8 deuce fold, 10-4. Well, it's not bad. You completed, so that's something. I mean, it's such a weak hand. I don't mind calling with it, but I'd like it more if it were suited at least, or like a 7-4, 6-4. But again, when you're playing these trashy hands, you're just trying to flop 2 pair or get out of there, or flop trips or get out of there. Because you can get into trouble if you flop a 10, let's say, and it's top pair. You can get into some trouble there, but yeah, that's cool. Jack 5 on the button. Okay, king jack, everyone's folded. Nice little raise, perfect. Take the blinds, that's a great result. 9-7, king 4, early position. 9-4. Nine five in the big blind. Got raised 8x here. 4-8 in the small blind. So 9-5 suited, I mean, basically almost any two suited cards, if everyone folds to you on the button, you can try and steal the blinds with it. So I'm happy that you didn't auto fold this, but you're going to be basically only playing it if everyone's folded, and you're just playing it to try and steal the blinds. But folding is totally fine too. It's like the very, 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 very bottom of the kind of hands that you would consider trying to steal the blinds with. Queen deuce, jack 3, ace 6 in the big blind. Again, this is okay. So let's go back here. So this is a hand when you're in the big blind, and you know, if this hand were suited, I would 100% call with it. It's okay to fold, and I'm critiquing a little bit strongly here. But if you look at the math here, there's 95 cents in the pot, and you have to call 20 cents. So you're getting about 5 to 1. So you only need to win the pot about 20% of the time to make it a winning play. And you could call here the same idea. I want to flop top 2 pair. I want to flop trips, and then you're just gonna fold if you don't hit the flop. So if you're completing the action, like no one can act after you. I would never do this from the small blind. This is a specific play only from the big blind, with like a middly, like a ace 6 or a jack queen or something like that. But folding is totally fine as well. This could be a hand where if it's cheap, you could get in there for nothing, but obviously with a big raise, you're folding. Good. King 6, this could be a hand that you steal if everyone folds. Obviously, when there's an early position raise, it becomes a fold. Let's make sure you do it. Okay. And again, you're on the button calling with the suited king like that, just trying to flop a flush draw, flop 2 pair is totally fine. The reason I'm suggesting you play tighter a little bit is because you have to have discipline. If you're going to play a hand like King 6, you have to have discipline so you can fold if you flop a king. So you don't, they're trouble hands when you start flopping, like top pair, terrible kicker. So as you're learning poker, you want to make as many situations easy to play as possible. So yeah. Okay, jack 8, fold, 10-5, fold. All right, here's a cool hand. Okay, so you got queens. Early position, player raised. I'd be checking the stats. Be 3-betting. You're in position over him, so you only need to go like at least to 90, but you can go $1. You can go up to like 4x, and that'd be totally fine, or even 5x, just because you have a very strong hand. So like $1.20. So anywhere from like say $1 to $1.20. I mean, 150 is fine. Should get the job done. If anything, I guess because these players are so loose, bigger raises with your premium hands would be probably a better play. Okay, he calls. Okay, so now we ask ourselves this. How many opponents saw a flop? Just one. Did you hit the flop? You smashed that flop's dick. Like you have the absolute nuts, and it's the most dry board in the world. Queen 7 deuce, there's no flush draws, there's no straight draws, there's no nothing. So there's absolutely nothing to be worried about. There's no turn card that could come that would give you not the nuts. You're always going to have the nuts in the turn. So with all that being said, is this flop likely to have hit my opponent? No. You know, what hand does he have that loves this flop? Really only pocket deuces, pocket sevens. So with all that being said, I would still bet. I would never slow play at these stakes, but I would bet very small. I would bet 20% of the pot. I would try and get him to call with ace jack high. I would try and get him to call with pocket threes. I'd bet an amount that was so small that he would almost not be able to fold, just because we have such a monster hand here. Oh, I think you're doing it. I love that. Oh, that's beautiful, Mackie. Exactly what I would have done there. And the other thing is he might read this, be like, oh, this guy's really weak. He's only betting 1/10 of the pot. I'm gonna bluff raise. I think he's weak, so I'm gonna spew, go crazy. And he calls. Okay, that's perfect. So now the pot's already up to $5. Now this king, now you're hoping that he has something like ace king or even king queen or king 7 or something, and this king helped him. So now, because the turn brought both a flush draw with 2 spades, and it also brought a straight draw, now 10 jack, ace jack, ace 10 all have a bit of a straight draw. Now you can start betting larger on the turn. So you successfully got the pot bigger on the flop. You can ask the questions. The turn, change your hand value, you still have essentially the nuts. I mean, 2 kings, I guess technically is nuts, but I would still say you have the nuts here. I play it like you have the nuts. And the turn card didn't complete any straight or flush draws, but it created some straight or flush draws. So the nice thing about this turn card is it hopefully gives your opponent either more draws or gives him a sense that he might have the best hand. So with this turn card, I would likely bet more like 354, a nice solid bet, trying to target hands like 10 jack, like 2 spades, a hand like ace jack that wants to see another card, those types of hands. So I'd be betting like, there you go. That's good. Excellent. Oh, you can go a little bigger. I think that's totally fine. Okay, and he called again. Now, this is the river. River's the 10. So now what gets there? Ace jack is now the nuts. So you no longer have the nuts, technically. You have the third nuts, because ace jack is the nuts, and then 2 kings is the second nuts, and you have the third nuts. But you still have a massively strong hand. The chances of you have to ask yourself in these situations, could he ever get to the river with ace jack? Well, because you bet so tiny on the flop, I guess he could, in theory, have called a tiny bet on the flop with ace jack, which is basically no pair and ace high, and then called a bet on the turn because he turned a gut shot. But it's super unlikely here. So it's very unlikely he has ace jack. So you have to say, what kind of hands could he have? He could have a hand like, it's unlikely he's got a queen, but he could have turned a king. He could even river to 10. He could have a hand like, 10 jack, maybe that called a tiny bet on the flop and turned a straight draw, let's say. So we're trying to sort of figure out what kind of hands we can target who are going to call a bet and how much might they call. So this is getting a little more advanced, but I just hope my opponent had a king, like a king queen, or king queen he'd raise on the turn for sure. So the fact that he only called on the turn means his hand range is pretty small. So I might only bet $3 here. Try to get someone to call me with a 10. Try to get someone to call me with a king. I might bet 4 or 5 because it's a low stakes, but it's going to be hard to bet an amount that his weak range of hands is going to be able to call. But I'd probably go for like a $3-4 bet. I mean, half pot's fine too. Oh, look at that, $4, $4.70, $4, or $5. Okay, that's reasonable. Good. King Jack. Okay, perfect. So that actually worked out well. You bet tiny on the flop, hoping that he can turn something. He did turn something. I mean, knowing his hand, he probably would have called close to a pot-sized bet. But that was very well played hand. Very, very, very well played hand. With 10 out of 10 hand. Almost everything I was suggesting you were doing, so that was great. Better fold this, Mackie. Better fold this. Better fold this. It's your turn, Mackie. Okay. All right. King deuce. Ace 6 in the big line. Kind of easy fold against a massive raise on the button. Okay, a couple of deuces. So this hand, again, when we look at tiny pocket pairs, they're kind of tier D kind of hands. So these are good hands to steal the blinds with, and they are hands that play well when you have a lot of opponents, because when you hit with them, they're going to make strong pairs. Like they're going to make trips or three of a kind sets, they're called. So these are hands that you want to try and get in the pot as cheap as you can. And it's okay to be against lots of opponents because you want to hit three of a kind and have someone else that has like a top pair or something. So a call here is really the only play I would make here. Because three betting would be atrocious because you're out of position and you're against a player who showed strength and the limper. So three betting would just turn your hand into. Okay, so again, you ask yourself, I'm three betting here. Why am I three betting? What am I trying to accomplish here? Um, this player's never folding. It opens up the chance that he could four bet you. If he four bets you to $2, what are you gonna do with twos? So when you have a little pocket pair, unless you're trying to steal the blinds, you want to try and hit three of a kind here. You want to basically, it's called set mine. So you're mining for gold, but the gold is a two. So you want to, just call. Hopefully the big blind calls. Hopefully this guy calls as well. You have three opponents. That way, if you hit a two, it's most likely that you're going to be able to get lots and lots of chips in the middle, win a massive, massive pot. And then if you miss and you don't hit a two, then you're just going to fold. So it's like 30 cents risk to try and win a $30 pot. But most of the time, you're going to lose 30 cents. And we're just praying this guy doesn't three bet. Okay, so he just calls. Okay, so you got two opponents. It's actually not a terrible flop for you because you do have a straight draw. An ace or a six gives you a straight. And this is you got yourself into a bit of an awkward spot here. You have an under pair. You have two opponents. Ask yourselves the questions on the flop. How many players saw the flop? Two. Did you hit the flop? I mean, you hit a straight draw, so technically you did. And is this flop likely to have hit others? I mean, not really. It's super, super low. So again, these are weak players. They can play almost any cards, but think of all the hands that don't like this flop. Ace, king, ace, queen, ace, jack, king, queen, king, jack, 10, jack, 9, 10. Million billion hands that just have nothing to do with this flop. So because it's unlikely to hit your opponents and you kind of hit the flop, I would bet here. I don't think there's any need to bet large. I'd probably bet about a third pot. Let's say 60, 70, 60 to 80 cents would be fine. Sort of set in your price. You don't want to check and then call a $2 bet. So bet yourself. But again, there's no need to do a massive bet here. Okay, so this is interesting because it's such a tricky spot, Mackie. And the reason is this. Yes, you have a straight draw. So you have deuce, 3, 4, 5. However, ace is really the only card that you'd feel very happy with. Because if you hit a 6, you have deuce, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 3, 4, 5, 6 on the board. So anyone with a 7 with one card would have a bigger straight than you. Secondly, because there's two diamonds, the ace of diamonds and the 6 of diamonds both put 3 to a flush on the board. So even if you hit your like the ace of diamonds or the 6 of diamonds, you're not going to be excited because there's 3 diamonds on board. So I mean, in this exact situation, the way you played it, I would likely call here. You're calling $1 to win 4, but I'd be very, very nervous about any turn card, but like an ace that's not a diamond. And folding might actually be okay here, just because it's so dangerous. Okay, so you folded, but you folded really quickly. I don't know if you realized you had the straight draw with the 2, 3, 4, 5. Folding might be a little weak. And again, if you're going to 3-bet before the flop and then just check fold on the flop, that's sort of, a bad recipe overall. Because deuces could easily be the best hand there, at least on the flop. Okay, so let's analyze this. This guy had kings, which is bonkers. But that being said, um, this guy had 10 jack high, and he was the one that bet the flop. So it's kind of ridiculous. This guy was just trapping with 2 kings. But again, you're 3-betting. I think your biggest mistake was tiny 3-bet out of position into a bunch of players. There's never a spot in poker where tiny 3-bets out of position with lots of opponents is going to be a good play. If you're going to 3-bet deuces, go big. Go to like $1 pre-flop, and then play the hand after that. But other than that, yeah, that hand was like a 3 out of 10. King 7, if everyone folds, you could raise this. If one person limps, you could raise this. Otherwise, you're going to fold it. Early position raise, easy fold, I'm assuming, just making sure. And you're going to fold. Good. Click that fold button. There you go. Check 5 offsuit, 8, 9 offsuit, 7 deuce, 5, 4 offsuit, early position, 9, 5 in the big blind, so we're going to fold that. Ace queen, okay. So again, this is a spot. Everyone's folded, you're in the small blind, you're out of position, so you want to raise pretty large. I go like 50 cents here. If you think your opponent is an absolute whale, you can go like 60, 70, 80 cents. Okay, now you gotta ask yourself these questions. How many opponents saw the flop? Just one. So if only one opponent saw the flop, you're gonna always, most likely gonna be continuation betting. Did you hit the flop? No. Is it likely to hit others? Jack 8, 6, medium. I'd say there's a decent chance this hit your opponent's range. Obviously there's several straight draws going on. 9, 10, 7, 9, 5, 7, even like a 9 queen, have some gut shots and stuff. There's 2 diamonds, so there's a flush draw. So it's you're just against one opponent. So again, you only have to, I have a continuation bet here, probably about a third pot. Just again trying to fold out his hands that have nothing, and then sort of continue from there. Yeah, you don't have to bet super big. That's good. Okay. And he snap folded. See that? So he just missed the flop completely. So again, you're risking 50 cents to win $1 pot, $1.10 pot that only needs to work 1 in 3 times. You played it aggressively before the flop. You continuation bet on the flop. That was excellent. Okay, you flipped over to the table. Posted 10-3. So you're gonna have to fold that one. Yeah. 6-5 in the big blind. Okay, 6x raise, easy fold. 10-4, see if you get a free flop. You do. You flop the gut shot, 2 opponents. So again, even though you just got a free flop, you still got to ask yourself the questions. How many opponents saw the flop? 2. Did you hit the flop? No. Is it likely to hit others? Yes. So it's likely to hit others, and that's why you wouldn't necessarily bluff at this pot. If the flop was like King 9 deuce and both players checked, then yes, you can bluff. It's okay to bluff at weak players. if all the situation is sort of perfect, all the stars line up. Plus, it's not a pure bluff. You have a gut shot. If a jack comes, you hit a straight. So pure bluff would be like if you had 7-4, right? Then you have no pair, no draw, no nothing. So it's technically still a semi bluff because you have a straight draw, even though it's a bad straight draw. Okay, everyone check the flop. Did the turn card change? Yeah, I mean, it changed the nuts, changed a bunch of stuff. But again, if both these players check, I'd certainly consider taking this pot. This player bet out very small. Again, easy fold. Okay, so we'll talk about that. I mean, I know you have a straight draw, right? Like a jack gives you the straight. The problem is you only have one card to come and you only have 4 outs. So you basically have 8% chance of hitting your jack. And I'll add to that, there's 2 hearts. So if you hit the jack of hearts, it's not even the nuts, because there's 3 hearts on board. So you really have 3 clean outs. So 3 jacks that are going to give you the nuts, which is a 6% chance, so almost 20 to 1 against hitting that one of those 3 jacks. Even though the bet is small, if you want to play this hand, you can raise with it. I mean, this guy checked the flop and then he bet small on the turn. You can certainly turn your hand into a bluff if the situation sort of makes sense. But yeah, I think calling here is kind of a weak decision. And then the other thing too is why call a bet on the turn when you had the chance to bet on the flop, right? The aggressive action would be to bet on that flop. You chose not to bet, but then you call the bet when someone else bet. So again, that's a little bit more of a passive line. So again, not a huge mistake. You posted, so you sort of had to play a trashy hand, but it's a good example of why playing trashy hands can get you into trouble, I guess. Okay, suited ace. And I would say this table that you're at right now actually looks like it's probably not full of fish. It's interesting because you can see most of the players have full stacks. So that's a sign. Okay, so everyone folds the small blind. He raised. Assuming this guy folds, you could play this hand in all 3 ways and all 3 would be fine. You could just fold maybe a little bit tight considering, this Coley player probably has a pretty wide range of cards. You could call with it. That's totally fine. And you could 3-bet with it. I would probably lean towards 3-betting. I'd go to $1.20 to $1.40 just because of the situation. So this player, everyone folded to him. He's trying to steal the blinds here. So he's probably got a very wide range of cards. He probably has all sorts of king, queen, king, jack, 10, jack, 7, 8 suited, king 4 suited, jack 9 suited. He's got a ton of hands that he's raising with to try and steal the blinds that you are way ahead of. So again, it's a bit of a tricky spot. And now when this player calls in between, again, all 3 options are still open. I think folding's out of the question now because now you're calling 30 cents to win a $1.20 pot. So now you're getting laid a tremendous price. I think so it's either call or 3-bet. I think 3-bet is a little bit more enticing now because there's even more dead money in the pot. So you could go to like 160, 170 here and likely take it down. Although that first player, actually, that was a good read. So that first player was very, very tight. So if I hadn't known those really tight stats, it might have changed my mind a little bit about 3-betting. So I think calling is totally reasonable there. Now you flopped nothing, some backdoor draws. And we'll see how the action goes. Okay, a decently big bet. He bet 80 cents into a pot of $1. So again, he's showing strength. Lots of strength before the flop, lots of strength on the flop. And you're gonna fold. Good, good. Okay, 2 10s in the big blind. So we've got a poster, 2 posters. There's some dead money in there, which is nice. Okay, tons of limpers. So now you have to be like, okay, I do not want to play this hand against 4 opponents. How do I get a bunch of them to fold? I need to raise quite big. Um, you're out of position, so that's an automatic 4 or 5x plus 1 to like 3 limpers. So you're going to want to go 80 cents to $1 here, I would say. Your goal is to either make everyone fold, you're going to win basically $1, 90 cents, or you want to get against just one opponent. Um, so I would go, yeah, I would go pretty big here, 9x, something like that. So again, you're raising 5x, but you're not taking into account that there's many players who have called or limped here. So this is going to bloat the pot. It's going to make the big pot big, but you're not going to get all these people to fold. Or you're not going to be able to get heads up, I'd say very often. You might get against 2 opponents if you're lucky, but more likely than not, you're going to have, 3 people call. Although these 2 guys did post, so technically they can have any 2 cards, but both those players called, so. Okay, so you have 2 opponents. You're in position against one, out of position against the other. So we're going to ask ourselves the question, how many opponents saw the flop? 2. Did you hit the flop? No. You have middle pair. There's 1 overcard with the ace. And is this flop likely to hit others? Not really. Ace 7 deuce. There is a flush draw. There's not really straight draws. And there's an ace. So I would say against this situation, 2 opponents, if this player checks his first one in, I would continuation bet, and I would probably bet again about, you don't need to bet very big, 90 cents, 80 cents. Again, just trying to get them to fold their little tiny pocket pairs, and maybe they're like king queens, king jacks, 10 jacks. They're little suited connectors that didn't connect with this flop. But half pot or a little bit less would be fine. Because you can't just, like in this situation, you checked because you're like, oh, there's an overcard. Oh, there's an ace. One of my opponents probably has an ace, but that's kind of scared poker. That's if your opponent has an ace, well, there's nothing you can do. But more times than not, they're not going to have the one card that is above your pair. So they will let you know by raising you at some point when they have you beat. So until they do, most of the time, you want to be aggressive. So as it was played with you checking on the flop, when everyone checks through, the gold run would never, he shouldn't ever check if he has an ace. So if Dank bets again, then you're pretty confident you have the best hand here. So I would certainly bet again about half pot, maybe a little bit more, but I wouldn't need to bet the full pot. But I'd bet maybe $1, $1.10 on this turn card. Because now your opponents are basically saying, I don't have an ace. I don't have a good hand in this situation. And again, you basically gave the betting lead to this player, who I think, if we remember correctly, is a super loose player. And now you're in a tricky spot, and you just folded. So that pre-flop was good. Aside from the amount, you'd want to bet bigger. After the flop, you can't just, again, what I called earlier, fit or fold. You can't either only play the flops that you hit. If you had the betting lead, which you did, you have 2 opponents. I mean, you could have been bluffed quite often there. I mean, you showed tremendous weakness by checking the flop, checking the turn. So gold run guy could have had just about anything, and it would have been a good time to bet. So I would just say be more aggressive after the flop on that one and raise more before the flop. Okay, let's continue. King 6, trashy. Yeah, okay, ace queen on the button. This one should be fun. Okay, a massive open and 2 callers. Now this is tricky. I would really want to know this guy's stats. Is this normal for him to open to 9 times the blind, or is he a wild spewy player? Ace queen's a very strong hand, of course. It's sort of second tier. Where's the tiers? It's tier B, so there are some hands that are crushing us, but we crush a lot of hands as well. But there's again a red flag when someone raises such a massive amount. It sort of does change things a little bit. If he did a normal raise to 40 cents and got 2 callers here, I would absolutely 3-bet to like $1.75 or something. As it is, I would call here 100% of the time. I would not want to 3-bet and have him 4-bet us, because generally, unless we have a read on this player being a wild monkey, if he's a wild monkey, hell yeah, we're going to 3-bet. We're going to try and get our stack in against his wild monkey hands. As it is, 3-betting is just a little bit intense just because he raised so much. But again, without stats, I can't say for sure. But you did 3-bet. You 3-bet quite small, which is interesting. You only went about 2.5 times the size. But we'll see what this player does. And he did a tiny 4-bet. So again, I was very, very worried about him coming out and doing such a large raise before the flop. 99% of the time, that's a very strong hand. And they know that opponents are going to call a lot, so they want to bet a lot to avoid having 5 callers, which is exactly what I recommend you to do. But now you're sort of in no man's land, because like, what range of hands does he have? You know, he's probably got jacks plus and ace king. So against jacks plus and ace king, your ace queen is not strong. So unfortunately, you're gonna have to fold this. You're getting great pot odds because you only got to call 3 to win 10, but at the same time, your hand is likely quite behind his range of hands. So you're going to be in some trouble unless you sort of flop a monster. So got yourself into a bit of a pickle here. I mean, I wouldn't fault you too hard for calling. I don't know if I'd rather you shove here, but again, that 9x open was very concerning before the flop. But I think as you played it, I guess I call and I just try and flop an ace or a queen and then hold my breath that I'm good. You know, I basically call here, and if I flop a queen or an ace, I'm getting the rest of my stack in, basically. Okay, 22-16. Perfect. So you saw his stats. That's what I would have looked at before making your 3-bet. So again, when he went 90 and then got 2 callers, I would immediately checked his stats and been like, holy shit, he's a pretty tight player. He's not fucking around here. He went 90 cents and he's a tight player. My ace queen is not likely to be that strong against the range of hands that he would have here. So yeah, that was a very, very instructive hand, I think, because it wasn't just the fact that it got raised, it was the fact that how much it got raised and the type of player that he was. So with that, it ended up being a good fold for you, but you could have saved a few bucks by checking his stats before making your 3-bet. All right. 10-8 offsuit. Do deuce 4-9. Trashy. 10-7 in the big blind. Raising a 3-bet. Queen 8 offsuit in the small blind. 4-8 suited. Again, very, very, very bottom of your range. If everyone folded, you could steal blinds with this, but you certainly don't have to. Well, maybe you did. Hang on, let me watch. Never limp. So if you're gonna go in the pot as the first one in, raise it, steal the blinds. You know, why not? Always raise. Be the first one in. All right, as played, you flopped a flush draw. So now the pot's 50 cents. Ask yourself the question: how many points on the flop? Just one. Did you hit the flop? Yeah, you flopped a flush draw. Is it likely to have hit others? Decently, yes. Two big face cards, but you're only against one opponent, and you hit the flop decently well, so I would definitely bet this. Same idea, half pot. You don't have to go crazy. I bet half pot into here. Oh, and he just folded, so there you go. But yeah, don't limp. That's the first one in. Okay, this hand, from the button and the cutoff, if everyone folds or checks, you can certainly raise with it. Again, you're going to want to raise a little bit bigger because there's one player that posted, so maybe 50, 60 cents. I would only play it in late position, kind of a weaker ace. But folding's not terrible, but um, again, with the second limper, now I'd probably just fold or go to like 70 cents and just try and get against one opponent. But folding is fine as well. Just keep it simple and fold. Okay, ace five, same idea as ace nine. If everyone folded, you could try and steal the blinds with a weaker ace. Okay, 8-7. Fold, good stuff. 8-4 under the gun, fold. 3-7 in the big blind with a raise, fold. 3-7. Okay, so I appreciate you playing hands from the small blind, and I think overall that's a really good strategy, is to complete from the small with a lot of hands. But you had 10-4 offsuit once, and now you have 3-7 offsuit. And there's certain just absolute trash hands that even with crazy pot odds, I'd say just fold them. And 3-7 offsuit, anything with like a card under 10 followed by another card that is far, far away from it, I would say fold them. So like if you can't make a straight with it, and technically you can, 4, 5, 6 makes a straight, then I would fold from my small blind. But certainly 7, 7, 6, 7, 5, 7, 4, close, 8, 7, 9, 7, those are all ones that are fine. And as it is now, you have bottom pair, terrible kicker. And again, this is why we generally don't play terrible hands, because you get these kind of boards. You have bottom pair, you have middle pair, you have a terrible kicker, you don't know what to do. So with this, it's just a fold. Again, you have to look at the suits. Your 3 of clubs would be no good if you hit it because it puts 3 clubs on board. Not no good, but it wouldn't make you feel that great. So yeah, so it's just a fold with bottom pair, especially considering like 4 people saw the flop. Good. So again, that's a small thing. It's not a big deal to kind of complete in the small blind with almost any 2 cards, but I'd say the absolute trashiest 20%. Like if I look at, let me pull up that software, Poker Stove, and we'll say what's like the bottom 25, 30% of hands, and we'll say like if you call with 75% of your hands, that leaves like your 7-3 offsuit is in the bottom 25% of hands. So Jack 3 off, Jack deuce off, 10-5 off, all the way to 10 deuce off, 9-5 off to 9 deuce off. These weak, low, unsuited, not connected cards. 3 deuce off, 4-3 off, 5-3 off, these tiny little shit cards. And you're still going to call with 75% of your hands. But just these shitty suited, 8 deuce suited, 6 deuce suited, 3 deuce suited, like these very shitty hands. So if you're ever messing around with like Poker Stove and you want to see, you start dragging for like, if someone has a VPIP of 18%, what hands are they raising? Let's bring this up to 18. That's about what they're raising. Ace 5 suited all the way up. All the suited high kings, suited high queens, ace 10 offsuit. So you can sort of get a feel for what a 30%, if someone's calling 50% of the time and they're calling with the best hands, calling about here. Very, very wide most kings, all suited queens, stuff like that. So anyway, little thing about the small blind. 9-6. King 5. Okay, 8-7 against an early position raising a call. That's fine. Fold, no probs. Don't worry about flopping a flush because you got turn probably. A6 off. No position fold. That's good. Okay, you got 10 jack. Let's see what happens here. So again, you're in an early position with 10 jack. I would fold this. Again, it's just a little bit too weak. But as played, that's fine. Everyone folded. So now you ask yourself the question, how many people saw the flop? Just one. So you're going to be betting almost all the time. Did you hit the flop? No. Is it likely your opponent hit the flop? Not really. It's super duper low. If they're really, really weak, they could have any two cards, but against most players, a 5 high flop isn't going to hit them. So I would continuation bet about 50 cents, 60 cents. You don't have to bet huge. You're just trying to get them to fold their 2 random garbage hands, garbage cards. Perfect. Half pot is perfect. And there you go. That's perfect. So you did everything right, just a little bit on the loose side for your opening range. Okay, giant raising a 3-bet. Obviously that's going in the muck. You might be finishing, is that it? Okay, I think that was your last hand. Cool, all right, well that was fun. That was almost an hour of chatty. I am tired. Hope you enjoy.